Hello everybody and welcome to Paul Gardens. Today is our first experiment kickoff video where we are testing 6 different types of seed starting mixes. Today we're going to be going over some product details and some first impressions of me potting up with these mixes. Let's get started. So for a recap, these are for our seed starting mix experiment. We needed to pot up 4 6-cell sections for our experiment. 2 of these 6-cell sections we're going to get tomato and pepper seeds, and the other 2 we're going to get thyme, basil, and rosemary seeds. More information on this experiment can be found in the video in the description. Let's look at our starting mixes. First up is our ProMix. We were able to go right to the ProMix website to get this information. Listed to be able to use with organic gardening. Couple claims here: 20% bigger plants, feeds for 3 months. Ingredients: it's going to be peat moss, coco coir, perlite, limestone, organic fertilizer, and then their MIcoactive technology, which stimulates things like root growth, according to them. The one thing I did notice with the ProMix is there are a lot of sticks and what looks like coco coir chunks in it, in a higher ratio compared to the other ones, the other starting mixes that contain coco coir. All right, on to black gold. Black gold seedling mix right here. Little chart. Peat moss, perlite. And having handled it, it really does seem like a kind of 2-ingredient starting mix. It's incredibly consistent throughout, very fluffy. The amount of perlite visible, much higher than in other seed starting mixes. And on Black Gold's info sheet that they give on the website, again, some proprietary technology here. The full list of ingredients: peat moss, perlite, organic wetting agent, plus resilience. Next up, Jiffy. Information on the seed starting mix was actually fairly hard to find. The ingredient list I had difficulty finding online. I was able to get it off the bag, not any percentages, but it does state that it contains peat moss, vermiculite, and then coco coir, which was very surprising considering this is one of the probably the easiest attainable seed starting mix. I was able to pick it up at Home Depot in towards the end of January. The mix itself, sticks, little chunks of coco coir here and there, but pretty light and fluffy. Next up, Miracle Grow, the one everyone loves to hate. Does contain a fertilizer. Analysis of 0.03, 0.03, 0.03. The thing I did like about this is I'm able to view the actual label of the product. It gives me the front and the back of the package with ingredients, all your normal listings, and right here you can see formulated peat moss, perlite, fertilizer, and a wetting agent. Goes through your fertilizer analysis. Real fluffy. Doesn't feel like there's a lot to it. You know, there's a little bit of perlite throughout, but overall the consistencies are okay. There are little hard things in there, little bits of what looks like roots. Espoma, another organic seed starting mix. Directions on how to use it, some basic facts about it. When you go over to specs, clearly lays out both the inactive and active ingredients: peat moss, perlite, limestone, yucca extract. This one is the only one that doesn't say it as coco coir, and I still found either sticks or chunks of what appeared to be coconut husk in it, but I guess it was not. It might have been chunks of some form of the peat or the yucca extract. Hoffman wasn't able to find a website, so went to the Amazon details page. Luckily, they had both the front and the back of the package. Ingredients: peat moss, vermiculite, limestone, and a wetting agent. The one thing I will say about this that kind of made it stand out amongst all the other seed starting mixes is a resealable bag. I'm not using all of the bags for my first experiment, so this one was definitely noticeable as I could just shut it after I used it. Light roots, definite roots. I mean, not as many chunks of, I'm not seeing as many chunks of like big wood, but I am seeing very fine, small pieces of sticks, roots, maybe a little bit of bark. Doesn't feel fully breaking down either. Like there's these little bits where they just kind of crumble in your hand, but they're definitely of substance. After we got everything potted up, we took our initial weights. We had an average of 9 ounces. All of the seed starting mixes were very consistent. The two largest variations in weights was with the Espoma and the Hoffman, with a variation between the lowest and the highest weight of 1.1 ounces. The most consistent were Promix and Jiffy, with a variation of just 0.4 and 0.3 ounces. Now for average weights, the heaviest was Espoma with a 9.575 ounces, followed by Promix with a 9.5. Hoffman was next very closely with a 9.45. Jiffy with an 8.875, and the two lightest were Black Gold with an 8.725 and Miracle Grow with the 8.3 ounces. During our seed planting process, the only two notable things were both the Promix and the Espoma. I had to move chunks of seed starting mix out of the way in order to poke my holes. With the Promix, there was what appeared to be a small twig where I wanted to poke my hole, and with the Espoma, there was what appeared to be a piece of bark. So, final thoughts. I'm very excited that this was the first experiment that I decided to do on this channel. There is a lot of variation between these 6 seed starting mixes. The ones that I initially thought were going to be some of the front runners were ones that I really didn't care for in this initial potting process. Both the Promix and the Espoma, which came highly recommended to me, had large chunks of different materials in it, and it made it actually very difficult to work with during the seed starting process. The Hoffman, which was low on my list, had one of the best features out of all the products, which was a resealable bag. Now, that doesn't affect the actual performance of the product at all, but as a user of the product, that definitely is something I look for if I'm only starting maybe 6 or 7 seed starts at a time, that I can easily store this product. Now, as far as actual performance of these products, we are going to be having constant updates right here on the Paul Gardens channel. Be sure to subscribe for more great gardening content, as well as updates on this experiment and many more. But my favorite part of this is the pictures. Oh, we're going to seed start in our kitchen on this pristine marble countertop. Nobody pours it in like this. She didn't pre-wet it. This is horrible. Oh, now we got a cup. That's a better sign. But my favorite, using our very nice copper watering can to water from 1.5 feet above your seed starting mix.